the five babies' universal language and its meaning. There is a moment every parent has experienced without knowing what they were looking at. Your baby is lying there, not crying, not laughing, just making a sound. A small, specific, deliberate sound. And you probably smiled at it, maybe even repeated it back, and moved on with your day. But that sound was not random. That sound was language. Not baby talk, not noise, language in the truest sense of the word. And almost no parent has ever been told what it actually means. Because here is the thing nobody tells you. Babies across every country, every culture, every language on Earth produce the same 5 vocal sounds in the same order, for the same reasons, at the same stages of development. Not because they are copying anyone, not because anyone taught them, because it is built into them before birth. And once you learn what these 5 sounds are actually saying, you will never listen to your baby the same way again. Welcome to Inside the Baby Mind, where we go past what your baby does and into what your baby is actually thinking, feeling, and trying to tell you. If you have ever wondered what is actually happening behind those sounds your baby makes all day long, this one is for you. Subscribe if you have not already. Let's go. The first thing to understand is that this universal vocal language is not a theory. It is a finding. Researchers studying infant vocalization across dramatically different cultures and language environments have found the same 5 sound categories appearing in babies regardless of what language surrounds them. Not because the sounds are learned, because they are wired in before the baby has ever heard enough of any language to imitate it. The sounds emerge from the nervous system itself, not from the environment. And that alone tells you something remarkable. Before your baby can speak a single word of your language, they already speak a language of their own, a language that every baby on the planet is fluent in from the very beginning. The second thing is about the first of the 5 sounds, the one most parents hear the most and understand the least. The short, sharp, rhythmic cry that seems to come out of nowhere and stop just as suddenly. Researchers studying this specific vocal pattern have found that it is almost never random discomfort. It is a very specific signal tied to an activation in the hunger and digestive regulation systems of the brain. The nervous system is not simply expressing distress. It is broadcasting a precise internal state, one that, once you learn to recognize its particular rhythm and pitch, becomes as readable as a word. This is not a baby falling apart. This is a baby communicating with total clarity. And the sooner a parent learns to hear it, the sooner the response can match exactly what the baby is asking for. The third thing is about the second sound, the one that so many parents mistake for the same as the first, and it is not. A slightly longer, more drawn-out vocalization that builds gradually instead of appearing all at once. Brain imaging studies of infant vocal patterns have found that this particular sound correlates with activation in the circuits responsible for detecting physical discomfort rather than hunger. Not pain in the dramatic sense, discomfort, a wet diaper, a trapped bit of air, a position that no longer feels right. The baby's nervous system has already categorized the problem before the sound leaves their mouth, and the sound itself is a direct transmission of that category. 2 cries that sound almost the same to an untrained ear are neurologically 2 completely different messages. If Inside the Baby Mind is giving you something real, take a second to subscribe. We put out new science every few days, things your baby cannot say yet, but is absolutely feeling. The fourth thing is about the third sound, and this is where most parents' understanding completely breaks down, because this sound is almost never about a physical need at all. It is a softer, more variable vocalization, one that rises and falls unpredictably, sometimes fading into silence and then returning moments later. Researchers studying this pattern have found that it correlates with activation in the circuits responsible for processing overstimulation. Too much light, too much noise, too much handling, too much world all at once. The baby is not hungry. The baby is not in pain. The baby's nervous system is simply full, and it is telling you so in the only way it knows how. Parents who respond to this sound the same way they respond to hunger, by feeding, or the same way they respond to discomfort, by checking a diaper, often find that nothing works, because nothing about those responses addresses what the baby is actually asking for, which is less stimulation, less input, a quieter, dimmer, calmer world for a few minutes, until the nervous system can reset itself. The fifth thing is about the fourth sound, the one that tends to appear later than the first three, usually in the second or third month, and it is one of the most important developmental markers a parent can learn to recognize. A rounder, more melodic, more sustained vocalization, often produced when the baby is calm and simply observing their surroundings. Studies following infants through these early months have found that this particular sound marks the emergence of what researchers call social vocalization, the earliest form of a baby reaching toward connection rather than expressing a need. This is not distress. This is not discomfort. This is invitation. The baby is not asking you to fix something. The baby is asking you to notice them, to look at them, to respond to them simply because they exist and they want to be seen. And how a parent responds to this particular sound, whether with warmth and engagement or with distraction and delay, becomes one of the earliest building blocks of the baby's expectation of connection for the rest of their life. The sixth thing is about the space between these sounds, because researchers have found that the pauses matter just as much as the vocalizations themselves. When a baby makes a sound and then waits, they are not simply catching their breath. They are checking. They are looking for a response, listening for the shift in tone, the change in movement, the arrival of a face that tells them the message has landed. This waiting is one of the earliest forms of what developmental psychologists call communicative intent, the understanding that a sound can be sent out into the world and something will come back. Every time a parent responds during that pause, the baby's nervous system receives confirmation that communication works, that their voice has power, that the world listens when they speak. This is happening months before a single real word is ever spoken. The seventh thing is about the fifth and final sound in this universal set, and it is the rarest, the most unmistakable, and in many ways, the most important. A sharp, sudden, high-pitched vocalization that differs completely from all the others. One that researchers have found is almost never confused with hunger, discomfort, overstimulation, or invitation, even by untrained listeners. This is the sound of genuine alarm, fear, a sense that something is wrong at a level deeper than ordinary need. Brain imaging studies have found that this sound correlates with activation deep in the survival circuitry of the infant brain, the oldest and most protected part of the nervous system. When a parent hears this sound and responds immediately, without hesitation, without pausing to assess or wait it out, something crucial is being built. Not just comfort in the moment, but a foundational sense, encoded before language, that the world responds to real danger with real protection. If this is giving you something, take a second to like this video and leave a comment. Parents, tell me which of these 5 sounds you hear the most from your baby. I read every single one. The eighth thing is about what happens in the parent's own brain when these 5 sounds are heard, because the biology runs in both directions. Researchers studying parental neurological responses to infant vocalizations have found that each of the 5 sounds triggers a distinct pattern of activity in the listening adult's brain. Not just recognition, but urgency calibrated precisely to the message being sent. The alarm sound produces the sharpest spike in attention and physiological arousal. The invitation sound produces the strongest activation in the reward and bonding circuits. The parent's nervous system, it turns out, is not simply reacting to noise. It is decoding language, whether the parent consciously realizes it or not. This means that long before you ever learned the word for any of these sounds, your body already knew how to tell them apart. You have been fluent in this language longer than you think. The ninth thing is about what happens when a parent begins to consciously learn to distinguish these 5 sounds, rather than relying only on instinct. Studies following parents who deliberately practiced identifying infant vocal patterns have found measurable improvements, not just in how quickly they responded, but in how accurately they matched their response to what the baby actually needed. Fewer failed soothing attempts, faster returns to calm, less parental stress during the early months, because so much of that stress comes not from the crying itself, but from not knowing what the crying means. Understanding this universal language does not just help the baby. It changes the entire emotional experience of caregiving for the parent, transforming a guessing game into something closer to a conversation. The 10th thing, and this is the one that matters most, is about what all 5 of these sounds are actually doing over time, beneath the surface of any single moment. Every time a parent correctly interprets a hunger cry, a discomfort cry, an overstimulation cry, an invitation, or a genuine alarm, the baby's nervous system receives the same underlying message, delivered 1,000 different ways across 1,000 ordinary days. My voice means something. My voice is heard. My voice changes the world around me. Researchers studying early communication and later emotional security have found that this foundational sense, built entirely before real words exist, becomes one of the deepest roots of a child's confidence in their own ability to be understood for the rest of their life. This is not a small thing happening in the space between 2 people who cannot yet talk to each other. This is one of the most important things happening in your home. There is a moment every parent has experienced without knowing what they were looking at. Your baby is lying there, not crying, not laughing, just making a sound. Now you know what that sound actually is. Now you know that it is not one of 5 interchangeable noises, but a precise message sent from a nervous system that has been speaking this language since before it ever heard a single word of yours. You do not need a translator. You do not need an app, a chart, or a device that claims to decode your baby's cries for you. You already have the only instrument capable of hearing this language correctly, and it is your own attention. The next time your baby makes a sound, do not rush past it. Pause. Listen to its shape, its pitch, the way it rises or falls, the way it waits afterward for something to come back. That waiting is your baby asking whether their voice matters. Answer it every single time you can. Because this is not really about 5 sounds. This is about a conversation that started before your baby could even see your face clearly. One that is building, right now, in this ordinary moment, in an ordinary room, on an ordinary day. The deepest belief your child will ever carry. That when they speak, someone listens. That their voice changes the world around them. That they are heard. You are not just hearing sounds. You are answering a language only the 2 of you share, one small vocalization at a time. And what you are building with every answer is permanent, and it is something only you can give them.